Do you ever feel, man, I'm just too damn old to get this? Uh, I'm not young anymore, so I can't understand this technology nonsense. Uh, I feel that the same way all the time. And I'm not old, but I know there's some people that feel like that. You know what, folks? It's not you. It's the idiots that design this stuff. Now, before you go out and buy this At&T device, there's a lot of things I've got to tell you about this before you actually get into doing it. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. I deal with a lot of attitudes during my research. I have the attitudes of, I know more than you, and flaunting it in your face, and absolutely knowing nothing at all about that they do, and that they tell you. And then there are people that absolutely know nothing, and flaunt that in your face, and they don't care. Then there are other people that care, but just don't have the information. And I run across both men and women with the same attitudes. And some days I can say that the women are a little more helpful than the men. And then I can say on other days that men are sometimes a little more knowledgeable than the women. But it just depends on the person that you're dealing with, whether it's a woman or a man, or it's the individual itself. It's not because they're a man or a woman. Anyways, this thing here is the worst documented piece of equipment that I've ever used. Now, if you have a cable phone or some other type of internet service, phone service type deal, like a VoIP, like I've got VoIP. Now, I bought this originally to get away from the internet phone stuff, because every time our internet goes down, all our phones go down. So, this is what this box is actually a all-in-one unit, and it provides you with internet and telephone. Now, it might not be to a cell phone or a smartphone, but there are a lot of bad designs about this, and maybe it's not really a bad design, but it's the fact that the documentation is not good enough. I've called the At&T company themselves. I've called the At&T store, and nobody knows squat about this thing. So I've got a bunch of negatives, and I've got a bunch of positives, and probably the positives outweigh the negatives. Because I've been doing so much testing, and I found a lot of stuff that nobody else knows about this thing. And what does this thing mean anyways? It's unlocked. That's a bunch of hooey. So let me get started with the actual piece of equipment here on how to even, if you're even thinking about buying this, I'm going to show you some things. And further into the video, I'm going to actually show you what the web page interface looks like so that you can get around it pretty easily. So to start off with, that I found really kind of stupid, and they didn't say anything this about the, in the directions. They kind of gave you a little bit of a rinky-dink thing, and that is how to install the SIM card. Now, on the back of this thing has a little battery compartment. Now there's a door on here that covers this whole thing up so that you won't see anything except just a little bit of the rubber feet. So where is the SIM card in this unit? Well, I left my SIM card in, and it's right here. It's that little card sticking out right here. They don't show you that in the directions. I had to look around on the internet for all sorts of information, and all of them were pathetic. I finally just said, alright, it's somewhere under this cabinet here. And you gotta have your SIM card installed first before your battery. So, other thing that's on here is your reset button. So that's for a hard reset. And then you have a useless USB port. which I don't know what you're going to do with that when the cover's on. The other thing that is useless are these little antenna slots. For weeks, I have tested antennas on top of antennas and did all sorts of stuff, and I don't know what good these things do. The only thing I can think of that these little antennas are for is the Wi-Fi. Now, what I was hoping when I bought this thing was the fact that I could use an external cell antenna to bring in reception. Well, that was not the case. And I called the company, and they said, oh, it brings in both cell phone reception and Wi-Fi. Now, why in the world would you have an outdoor antenna to bring in cell phone service and to broadcast your Wi-Fi outside your house? Does not make sense. I'm sure that this is for Wi-Fi only. So where are the cell antennas? Well, the cell antennas are in here, right there. Somewhere built inside the top of this thing. It does work good. When I found out what it all does. So here are your Ethernet ports and your telephone jacks here. Let me get that in closer. So these are your telephone jacks right here, these gray plugs. And then there's your Ethernet jack. And then you've got your power plug right here. And then you got your on and off switch over here. Well, it's my fingers in the way a little bit. So it will work quite a bit on a battery if you have no power. But I did a whole bunch of testing on the battery. It's easy to set up. And how do I put that SIM card in the unit? So right here, all I got to do is push up in, and then it's inside the machine. And that's all you've got to do. But they don't tell you that in the directions. So, now the negative thing that I have found out about this unit is not just the fact that it doesn't tell you anything about what it's able to do and all the parts and all that. It does not come with the antennas. So these are add-ons. So it's totally useless. And really, I don't know what you'd want to use with this too far away. I mean, they have maybe like a tablet or something like that for portability. I mean, you can use this in your car if you need to. But if you're like one of these people that are just tired of landline, tired of VoIP service from your cable company, I suggest going with this with good if you have good service. Now, I did find out several things about this unit that you must know about before buying. Now, I tried it in this room here. I've got way too much electronics, and it didn't hardly receive any signal. I found a room in this house, and actually it's been unused. It was a closet for storing Christmas decorations. There was no electricity in it. It was an old, actually it's a little spot with even no flooring on it. There's a couple of rails and boards in there so you can walk on, and basically what's under it is plumbing. So I stuffed this box in the that cupboard, that little closet area. I mean, it's 1 foot and 15 inches wide, so there's not much space to turn around. And then I don't know how long it is, but it's long enough to get in there. And I was able to get perfect cell phone reception. Now, I got 2 bars off from this, and it was green. And then every time I made my phone calls, it turned to the blue lights. Now, I don't know what the deal is with the blue and green lights. Now, it turns red if you have no SIM card, and it blinks when there's no SIM card in it. And if there's no signal, it will turn red. So, blue is supposed to mean 3G or 4G. I don't know. I don't really understand all that. But it had good sound. The only thing that I have found with this piece of equipment is in bad weather. Now where we live in Hicksville. We live between two big cities and just the middle of just countryside. So the only two service providers that we've got in our area is Verizon and At&T. So if you are planning to use this device with like Verizon or some other company, some things you must know about before buying it is if you're going to use a company that has using like At&T cell towers, you can use this. I signed up to Consumer Cellular. Now the thing that I found out with this unit is I had phone service right off the bat. No internet. And I called them and called them. Could not get anywhere with them. I called the At&T store, and what I did, I have two cell phones. And originally, I made a big mistake with this thing. I took my cell phone, and it's a prepaid At&T cell service, and I plugged it into the back of this thing right here. I blew it. I had to go back to the At&T company, and I had to get a new SIM card. Don't do that. There's a lot of things that you can do with this. But the one thing you must know is that if a company is not using At&T cell towers, this will not work. And I signed up to that Consumer Cellular because they were using At&T towers. What I found out about the internet, folks, now I don't really need the internet on this, but I wanted it just in case my cable internet went down so we could still get online. What I found out through a lot of research and a lot of calling people, I finally recalled back the At&T company a bunch of times, finally got somebody that knew something, and I said, look, this thing does not work with Consumer Cellular. It works part way, but the internet does not. Why? The internet, the service provider said that it's not unlocked. Now, what is it? Is this an unlocked device or is it not an unlocked device? Well, let me tell you something, folks. They told me a whole lot of things that nobody else told me. I looked at videos. All of the videos that I've seen of this thing are just repeat crap. And they're no good to watch because nobody knows jack about this thing. It's not a true unlocked device. So what does unlocked mean? So like At&T has several different services that they offer. They offer the, I don't know if it's really totally contract now or not, or if it's contractless, but they do have services that are contract where you sign up for like a year or 2 years. I'm not sure. I didn't sign up to that. Then they've got prepaid. Then they got postpaid services. Those services would work with this unit. And that's what unlocked means. Unlocked does not mean that you can just go and slap a Verizon, Sprint, Cricket SIM card in this thing and expect it to work. Because it will not. Now, I did find out that Cricket does work with At&T towers, but what's the point of them? I mean, they were a little more expensive than what I'm paying for at this other company. So, the one thing I did notice with this unit is, and I might be repeating myself, that you need to isolate this from all other electronics as much as possible. Whether you've got a first floor, if you've got an attic, put it up in the attic. Then run your cables. I'm going to show you my room where I stuff my equipment into. And there's some other things that I found really kind of interesting. Well, I didn't come across this because I don't use my prepaid phones all the time. My mom uses her cell phone for texting, talking, even with, we have the regular standard, telephones, whether it's a VoIP or is going through this cell box. And she said, hey, did you know that my cell phone's working better? And I said, I didn't know that. She said every single time she had to go outside the house to send a text, because it would say, you know, keep trying to send, and nothing. So she said it's working better. I can make a phone call in the house. And ever since I put this device in the house, she said that her cell phone's been working better, and she just forgot to tell me about it. So I'm like, what's the deal? Because we don't get hardly any cell service here. I mean, this does work better than a regular cell phone, but I don't get it. There's so much stuff for this thing that nobody knows about. So I did some tests. I took my cell phones, and I couldn't get any service. Even in this room, I can't get service. And I just dialed the 611, and it didn't do anything when this unit was off. But as soon as I turned it on, I was able to get 1 bar of cell phone service. I was able to even go down to my basement and go underneath the room where this unit is stored and running and get cell service. But the rest of my basement was like dead. You couldn't get anything. But the rest of the house, I could go all over the house with any cell phone and get service. It was 1 bar, but it was perfect. It was just like it was 4 bars. But it wasn't. And I don't understand. This is almost acting like some kind of a repeater. Even when I don't have any signal, when that thing is on red, I still get cell phone reception. So I don't know what this thing is doing, but it's somehow repeating the cell service in the house. So if anything, you could get this for like a small, cheap repeater. It's just amazing. I'm going to do some tests right now and actually see what happens, because I've got my other cell phone, and we'll see if what this thing does. Now, like I said, this room doesn't get very good cell reception, and this box doesn't get very good service in this room because of all the electronics that are running. So let me get my cell phone. So here I dialed 611. And I get this message, no service. So basically what I have to do is hang out that window to get service. So if I come over here, now sometimes I have to shut it off and turn it back on. And see, it hardly picks it up here unless I go and have to really get very close to it. I might have to turn it off. Still won't do it. It's just, there's some bad weather today, but usually I can hang out that thing and get some service, but none. So let me try plugging in that box and seeing what happens right on here, right on the camera here. This is just to show you what it does, even in this room that it gets poor signal. So now I've got this little box turned on, and it just stopped receiving signal because I'm in the way. But we'll see what it does, and I had 1 bar of green signal at the window when I set it right on the window, so I know it's receiving at least 1 bar. But let's see what happens just having it like it is. As you can see, I've got 1 or 2 bars of signal there, and it's green, so it's not 3 or 4G. But I can actually make a call out on this if I had the landline plugged in. So now, since I've got the box turned on, and well, it's kind of hard to see it, but I've got 1 to 2 bars, and I'm kind of in the way because it just is not receiving very good. But it's at the window. Anyways, I'm going to try my cell phone again. And I'm going to dial the 611. Well, I don't know why, but I'm actually filming this on a very bad day, and even that cell box is having a hard time picking up signal, even if it was in my closet where I was getting signal the other day. But it was working, that came and it went. So I'm still having some issues, but I was able to stand in the middle of this room, like right now, and it'll come on. So right here before, I wasn't able to get it. And it's going to take a while, but it will make a call. And I don't know how long you want to stand here waiting for the thing to call out, but it's trying to make a call. And this is better than having no service whatsoever. And like I said, today is an exception because it's a bad windy day. And it just didn't go for some reason. And that's what's going on with that other box. But still, it's not bad. So let me show you my box, or my little closet I had my cell phone box in. So here's this little cabinet that I've got that was here for a while. Actually, it's been here since I was a child. We used to store Christmas lights in here. Well, now it's hard to store anything in it because the dryer equipment and washing systems have gotten so big, I've got to squeak through here. And if I was any heavier, I wouldn't be able to get in. So let me get in and I'll show you my little closet. So here's my closet. And it's just very small. This is right where my bathroom is, and this is the outside wall. So this has, like I said earlier, the plumbing and stuff, but I ran wires. There was a shaft where the plumbing went to, and it went straight down to the basement, so I was able to run wires right up in here. And it works perfectly in good weather. And like I said today, we're having some issues because of the weather, but in most cases, when it's not really windy and it's just rainy, it works perfectly. And so if you're kind of curious how long this room is, I'll show you. So this is how narrow this room is. And I put a light up here to see, and then one in the back of me here. And there's a little septic pipe vent going up through the front here. So that's kind of hard to get around, but I can squeak myself around it. So let me try doing some test calls on this unit and seeing how it works. Okay, so now I've got everything ready. I've got my wired phone right over here. It's all connected to this cell box right here. So when I make a call, I'm going to call my house so you can hear the phone call. And I hope you can hear it good enough. I got my other line going, that's that cell box. And since it's bad weather, it's going to take a little bit, but...
Pushing technology to the limit. Please dial 100 for Tony, 111 for David.
Then I'm going to push the extension button for my answering service. I don't need to call anybody. So this is a test. And there it is. It's coming on the answer machine. So that's how that works. And just to show you what this thing does, and I don't know why it does it, but it changes colors. Let me show you when I make another phone call. Now watch those colored lights when I dial the phone. See how they changed to blue?
Pushing technology to dial.
So then it just turns blue. And then when I I just shut that off, it'll turn right back to green. I've just called my answering service again. So now it's back to green again once the call's done. And I don't know why it does it. Something about the signal. And it's always done that. And it's like it's kind of low power and high power. So since that's working, I'm going to see my cell phone again. And I'm going to try that. Nope, still says service is unavailable. How long does everything last if you've got a power outage, if you're asking me? So, it's not like a normal cell phone. Now, the directions say that it's going to be 3 hours for a connection. So that means whether you're talking on the phone. Now, I did not try the network, but I'm sure that that's the same way. I've got a list over here on my screen of things that I've tried. Now, the box says it will run for 3 days without a connection. Now, but it says standby mode. Now, I don't know what they mean by standby. That's where all this confusion is what is standby? Is standby when the unit's running, but there's no telephone connection to the system? Is that standby? Or standby when it's just shut off and there's no power? I have no idea what their definition of standby is. So I did try one test. So I did a call test, which I call a call load, and it lasted for 3 hours and 52 minutes. Now they told me in the manual that it was only going to last for 3 hours. Well, it lasts 52 minutes longer than what they said. Now, this test that I did, I called a self-powered. What is a self-powered phone? Do you remember those days back when we had landlines? And there still are landlines around even today. But, you know, they're not like they used to be. They used to have a phone on the ball, and that was it. There was no other power to it. So basically, self-powered means that it's getting power from the actual phone line. So it's sucking energy from the phone company. So what is a self-powered phone doing? On that unit, it is sucking battery juice from your when you're on a call to power up a self-powered telephone. Now I used one of these, like this phone here, my desktop phone. It has a power supply in it. So you plug it into a regular 120 volt AC. And that way it's not sucking power from the system itself. So I tried that to see what that was going to run for. And let's see here. So on a desktop phone, I lasted 5 hours and 21 minutes. Now, if you're saying, well, that's ridiculous, why do that test when most people are not going to be able to power up their phone anyways if there's no electricity to start with? Isn't that the whole point of this? Well, yes. But I just wanted to see, just to get an idea of what it was going to take. What is the recharging time on this? And the recharging time is not listed. It doesn't tell you how long it's going to take to recharge your battery. So I tried it. And my test, there's a yellow light indicator on the battery. So when it's fully recharged like it is now, it's green. When it's yellow, it's pretty much getting worn down to where you should get off the phone. Then there's red, which means that you only got so many more minutes. So I charged this battery without using it for, let's see here, 2 hours and, well, let's see here. Yeah, 2 hours and 18 minutes. I had to find my notes here. So 2 hours and 18 minutes, it said it was fully recharged. Not at all. I turned it back on the phone, made a phone call out, and boop, the battery went. So I'm guessing that it's going to take about 8 hours to get a battery fully recharged. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe 12. I know that within 12 hours of recharging the system, the battery, that the battery was fully optimal and ready to go. I didn't try it in 8 hours. So that's how long the battery would work for, or charge for, is basically, it says it's okay, but until you make a call. So I would suggest waiting. You're going to have to try this on your own. Try either 8 hours or just wait 12 hours like I did. I would just suggest that 12 hours the battery be fully recharged. And the system does charge, I think, when you shut the switch off on the back, when it's all the way off, I think it will still charge. I didn't try it, but the battery light is still green when the system is fully off. So, I'm not sure about that. Anyhow, what is it going to look like when it's in the room? Now, why do I want to, like I said, I'm going to isolate it so that all my connections in that room that I showed you are going to the basement to my phone system. So, let me get that set up and get everything reconfigured here. So here's this box now. And I've got it all connected. And you're saying, well, how are you getting it to your telephones? So, I made a kind of a cob job here. I've got my telephone line. I got an Ethernet cable plugged in. But if you're asking me, why am I having an Ethernet cable in? Well, good question. It's because I use that Ethernet cable to monitor what's going on in this device. I can actually make sure that the battery's being recharged, the signal's good, everything's, and get notifications, whatever there's lights on this box will show me on my computer. So, how did I get this thing to the basement without running a lot of wires? I mean, I ran Ethernet and power. And so, this, let's see here. There's a lot of cables here. So this red cable here has a Ethernet patch cable on it, and I actually used a punch-down RJ45. Then I just took a piece of short cable, and I took just regular, RJ11s, which is telephone jacks. So here's the jack. So it takes it from Ethernet to telephone, and I got the same one down in the basement, the same setup. So this has two of them. So this actually has, there's 8 leads in an Ethernet cable. So that means that this box has 4 lines, and then this box has 4 lines, or 2 lines, excuse me. I messed it up. So this is 4 lines altogether. Both these boxes together are 4 lines. So there's 2 lines per box. So there's line 1 and line 2 in this one, line 1 and line 2 in this one. So that's 8 leads together. And then I got the same type of a unit in the basement that has, these both boxes have the 2 separate lines. So there's 4 altogether. So anyways, that's how this contraption is hooked up. So when I'm out of the way, there's absolutely no other electronics in here. It's just this box. So there are the light bulbs, and there are a few. Well, I can't even raise up the camera that high, anyways. But there's lights. There's some Ethernet stuff, but it's not like everything else that I've got in the place where there's tons of communication. Now, if you're like me and you got a tight spot, I wanted to show you this little contraption I built. Let me see here. So this is the easiest way to build a 6-way power strip. It's not really a power strip, but I got 3 individual wire taps. So that makes 3. It's a T, so it has 3 different plugs on it. And I actually made 7 of them, and I can rip them apart if I don't need them. And so that makes it easy. So if I only need to have 3 plugs, I can just leave that one in. But if I need to have more, I can just keep plugging them in, and then I can just throw it in this little hole in the floor, which is not. This is actually the original floor to the house, and then this is where I'm standing is actually a new floor that they put in. So that's how this phone box is set up. And once I'm out of the way, it will receive better reception. And this wall right here and that wall are both the outside walls. And this is upstairs. So I'm saying, like, if you had a first floor house and no secondary, well, if you have an attic, you can put this box up in there and then just run your wires. And yes, some of this is going to be more advanced for some other folks than you want to mess with. But I found that if you keep this around other electronics and you've got tons of stuff like TV equipment, VCRs, DVD players, computers, it won't receive very good unless you put it in a room like this where it's isolated from pretty much everything. I mean, yes, it works fine around some Ethernet equipment, but not all that other stuff. So now I'm going to show you what it does when you're on your computer, and to show you how you can manage your signal strength and know when you're having problems. Now here I'm on my computer screen, and this is just kind of a sloppy crap shot that I'm doing because it's with my camera. I'm not doing an actual screencast on recording it on my computer. So you're going to have to pardon the lousy footage here, but right here is my signal strength of the unit itself. And then it has all the indicators, like the front panel does, on the actual box itself. So when I make a call out, so I can hit 9, and then my home number. Now watch the signal bars. And there you go. So you can see it actually turn blue like it does on the front panel of the piece of equipment. So let me shut that thing off. So anyways, then it will go right back to green when it's off. And the thing has to go through its process of waiting because it's going to go right to the answer machine. But anyways, that's how that works. And yeah, there it goes right to green. And now we're going to do some other tests to see what that box does since it's hooked up where it was working before when my mom had good cell phone reception. Well, today's a new day because I had to wait until we had a little bit better weather to do some tests. Now, I still say that this room is absolutely the worst room to get reception. But I just walked out of this room before going on camera and made a call on this very cell phone, where in this room I can't hardly make a call. I mean, it does work somewhat. We'll see if it works. I mean, because I usually can't get a phone call in or out of this room. And it's very shaky, especially today because we've got a new weather pattern compared to last time that I was on camera. Last time it was a windy day. Today it's a calm day, but it is very cold and it's ice rain. So this is kind of interesting because I can still make calls out on that box that just perfectly. But as far as cell phone reception in this house is very shaky, especially on this cell phone. So let me try calling the 611 again and see if I can actually get a call out. Well, we'll see here. And I'm not sure because this room is very shaky. But I can go into the next room and get signal, which normally I can't get signal at all. So it's very, very fussy right now because of the weather outside.
Welcome to At&T Prepaid. Para español, marca 9.
See, it just made a call in this room without any issues. I mean, yes, took me a little bit to get the cell service, but it did get the phone to call out on the 611 on the AT&T. So that is pretty darn good compared to what I had before, which was nothing. And it's kind of shaky because of the weather, but that box that's in the other room is the one that's actually making the phone work. And because, like I said before, it never came in at all to anywhere in this house, not even the basement. So if I even go down to the basement, I'll be able to get cell phone service with this phone. So I can go there now and we'll show you that I'm getting cell phone service down there. Here I am down in the basement, and I'm right in the middle where my work area is. And like I've said, there's only one spot in this basement where I can get signal, and it's not here. Let me show you that now. And it's going to be kind of a hard video to see me and the phone all at once because I'm hanging on to the camera. So I need my other hand to be able to run and operate the phone here. So let me try to do my best of showing you what's going on with the telephone. Then I'm going to show you the spot where I can exactly get signal in this basement. It's pretty shaky at times, even though it's, it's upstairs, that box, and it's really, you can't get anything down here. Not even FM or TV for that matter. It's amazing I could even get the cell service to work down here. So let me get to that phone now and show you that there's absolutely no signal in this part of the basement. So I'm going to hit send. I got 611 all dialed. And see, it says no service available. So let me go to my other part of the basement where that device is located, and we'll see if we still get signal. I mean, I'm not sure because today is bad weather, but we'll see. So right up in this corner here where the sewer pipe and all that is, there's actually a hole, and see all these lines right here? These are my cables that are going to that little compartment upstairs with that cell phone box in hand. And over here is a door, and this is nothing but a steel door, and you cannot get anything through it, not even cell service. So I'm going to stand right here, right beside this pipe, and I'm going to hang on to the phone, and I'm going to, let me see here, dial 611.
Welcome to AT&T Prepaid.
And see, it makes a call right out of the house. Right here in this up here. So I can stand right here and make a phone call. So if I move just a few feet away from that little corner of the room here, let me show you that now. I am not that far away from this door. So I'm just right over here by the hot water tanks. Now I will not be able to get any reception at all with this telephone. Well, there is just something odd about cell phone service, because normally I cannot get cell service right over here. And it's odd because I lifted my cell phone up like I did before and caught the signal. And now, when I come back over here, I cannot get any signal. Well, when I was there testing it just a few minutes ago, I did get signal. But it's something with the cell service or the phone. I don't know what it is, because normally I just don't get anything down in this basement. But it's very spotty over here, even when I walk away from that part of the room, which is over here. So that is where the best signal is. But if I come over here, I get nothing unless I'm on a phone call. So let's try that, because what I'm trying to do today is just show you how how much better that box makes the cell phone signal than just trying to get cell service from the outside of your house. So the one thing I noticed on my screen down here is somebody was on the phone, so that really kind of threw my test out the window, because when somebody's on the phone, the signal is higher for some reason than when nobody's on the cell phone box. So right now I have all 4 bars of blue signal. Let me show you that now. So right here is my screen, and it has full signal strength. Now, when I was showing you the test before, it was just the 2 green bars. So this means that there's full signal strength versus the times that I was doing it was less signal strength. And I think that may have a difference. Now, don't quote me on it, but this is going to all the results that I'm showing you today with me is just my location. It might be different than your location. I have no idea. So let me try my cell phone again and see what happens versus when there's nobody on the phone. For some reason, if I come back over to this area right here where the pipes are, where my signal's coming from, because that's just a straight hole right up to that little storage room, that little closet area. So now if I try to make a cell phone call, again, I'm going to try that now, but I've got to lift up my my cell phone to actually catch the signal. And sorry, it's going to be bad footage here, but let's see here. I'll be able to catch the signal, and I don't know if it's with this phone or what, but it's like I catch the signal up in that little area, and then it will work once I get it. And then it'll come over, so then I can walk around the room and still get stuff. Still get the phone call coming in. But as soon as I disconnect, that's where I was having a problem. Was when the phone got disconnected, when I disconnected my call, there was no service. And I'm having a little bit of issues because it is really... there it is. Alright. So here, I've got my cell phone signal coming in. So let me turn that on. Now, let's walk over to the other side of the room. I don't know, let's see if it will actually pick up. Let me see here. Because there's no way to get any cell phone reception down here except for that box that's upstairs in that little closet. And, well, it just call ended. But I think you get the picture that I can get cell phone service pretty much down here with this box that I've got. And it's kind of tricky. I mean, there's just so many variations with cell phone service. But I know typically and all the time, you know, in a normal day, I'm not able to get anything down here. And I still can't. I mean, I can now with a cell phone because of the box that I've got upstairs on my second floor. Since that the hole where all the wires are coming through is a straight cavity right down to this basement, the cell phone reception gets down here. And although there's no way to boost it up anywhere else, but it will work kind of in this little area of the room here, like all the way down through here, if there's a cell phone, you know, call already in progress. But as soon as I hang up, it's gone. And I've been having issues with that down here since I've been making this video. So it's very tricky, but in the rest of the house, I can get perfect cell phone signal with this box that I've got installed up in that little closet. So I can show you in my kitchen that we're getting phone service. There again, since we're having issues with the weather, it may or may not work, but we'll see. So here I am in the part of the kitchen that gets hardly anything. If I'm over here, there's no Wi-Fi hardly, I mean, if you do have Wi-Fi and the refrigerator comes on, then it knocks it right out. So right now the refrigerator is off, so we'll see what happens when we make a call out on the phone. So just be sure that you know that the footage is kind of going to be rough again because I'm trying to operate my camera and the cell phone at the same time. I dialed 611 again, and perfect reception right here in this kitchen. So it's a little bit choppy, but it's not bad.
Balance, right?
So you can say balance.
I missed that. Balance, right? Say yes or press 1.
Yes.
Say no. Sure, you're on the 10 cents per minute plan. You last added $25 on November 14th, and your account balance is $252.15 and expires on February 12th.
So it works perfectly right here in this kitchen, where before we got nothing. And even my mom was saying, you know, my cell phone is working better. I can go in the living room and do the same thing. I can sit in the middle of the living room and get perfect cell phone reception. I mean, like I said, it's not the best, but it's pretty darn good compared to what we were getting before, which was nothing. And this is pretty good for this kind of a day where there's just rain coming down and it's icy rain, and although it's not windy. So that's the difference here between the other day that I was first filming and today that it's not windy at all. I mean, there might be some light wind, but not like we were having before. So let me show you what we can get in the living room. It's just the basement is really, really tricky. Always has been. And you can't even really hardly get Wi-Fi down there unless you have a mesh Wi-Fi network, which is nothing that I have set up because I really don't need it, but only except for my tablets and stuff like that, but I'm not using my tablets down there. So let me show you that living room right now, and I'll try making a test call in the living room again. Right here is that corner room. First, let me just show you that's where I was standing in the basement was right here. And that's where that little closet is upstairs. So I should be able to get cell phone reception in my living room with no problem. So here we're going to dial the phone again. 611. And we'll see what happens. There again, there's cell phone service. And I've got no problem with making phone calls out of this room here. So that works pretty good compared to before when there was absolutely no cell phone service in this entire house. I mean, yes, you would have to hang outside the windows or the doors just to get cell phone signal to send a text or to make a phone call or receive a phone call. Well, this is pretty good, and I'm not sure why that box is doing what it's doing, but it's somehow bringing cell phone service into our At&T phones. So, if you're on Verizon, I don't know if this box will help you boost up your Verizon cell phone service, or any other service for that matter. But it does with our At&T because that's the service that we're on. So if you're kind of like, all right, well, I want to get it. Go ahead and get it. But now you're kind of like, well, how do I get into the thing? Now, in the directions it says you can just type in something at att.com something. I don't use that. I recommend using the IP address in any web browser, like Firefox for that matter, and go in and log in with your username or password, whatever is on the box. I think it's just a password. And then configure your unit. Well, so what is the IP address of this device? Well, the default IP address is 192.168.0.1. That will get you into the device. And if you have internet on your computer, when you're doing this, whether you've got a second Ethernet card, like I got tons of Ethernet cards all over the place on each machine, so I have no problem with just plugging in the unit to someplace and still have internet on my computer. So when we're going to show you that screen now, of just kind of a basic overview of what you can do in your screen. And I've kind of given you a little bit of a glimpse of the signal on this unit, but now we'll show you what you can do inside the unit, and as far as customizing your Wi-Fi, different little aspects to get yourself going with the service that you have on your cell service. Okay, so now you see I've got my router page saved in my history. So it's 192.168.0.1. I'm going to click on that. I'll bring it right up, and I got my password already saved. So I'm going to log in, and you can see here on the home page your status for your Wi-Fi. You can do, these are like quick links, so you can like customize your main Wi-Fi or your guest network, all the way down to restarting your device, and you can do a device reset. And then there's quick links which don't work with my setup because I'm not using strictly At&T services. I mean, yes, I can use some customized At&T wireless settings, but there's other things here that will not work with the service because it's not totally At&T. So anyways, I can go to my connected devices and see that I've got several things here. A computer and another router connected. This one here I don't think is even being used. I don't know why it's still on the list, but it says 2 when it actually says 1. And so if you want to, let's see here. So you can scroll down and you can see block devices. And I'm not totally sure how to use all this stuff because I'm not going to be really using this for the internet. I'm going to be using this for the phone. So if I go down to data usage, if I was using a bunch of data, I could see what device is taking, the data. Call logs, which is a great thing to have. You can see your phone numbers, what days they've called, how long they've been, and then I've got a bunch of different calls out on this or in because we're using this for our telephone now. The messages are actually kind of stupid. I mean, yes, it's nice because I've got texting on this service. It allows you to see messages, and I've got some that are, like a test call and different things like that. Some of them go to a Facebook, and I can delete them. But the thing that's stupid is that you cannot, like, this one right here, where it says, "Hi, this is a test." That is my personal, text, and I can't reply to anybody that sends me a text on this phone number, which is stupid. And the service doesn't allow you to text through a web console kind of thing. Like if I log into my account through my service provider, they don't allow you to do that. So anyways, You can go to parental controls. You can tell it that you want to do use that for parental control. There's just a bunch of things that you can do. You can do settings. There's a lot in settings. Like your Wi-Fi settings. I've changed my Wi-Fi to cell internet from the default, and I just disabled it. And I can customize a guest network, how many people I want to be on it. I just said 2 because I'm going to really just use my regular network Wi-Fi. If I were ever to do anything with this unit for internet, I'd use my own Wi-Fi access point that I've got connected. Because the Wi-Fi access point is actually better than what's on this router itself. And so you can go down and turn on your 5 gigahertz, whether it's your main or guest. You can tell, you want how many devices on at once. I've just set everything to low. I didn't want anything more than just, like I said, nobody's going to use it, but I just set it to low just in case if I do. And then over here is your diagnostics. I'm going to come back to the settings, but I wanted to quickly go through your options here on this page. So it tells you, the SIM status, network service status. I'm disconnected from the internet because I told it to. It says, gives you a kind of an update on your firewall. You can make changes. You can even do about your device. And then I can see further things. So right here it's telling my signal strength. Well, up here it's telling me I've got rotten signal strength. If I make a phone call, you can watch these bars go up. So let me make a call right now to my house. So I'm making a call. Now watch those bars.
Pushing technology to the limit.
So it's better than what it was before. It was saying, we're still having some poor weather out here, but the signal is better when the phone is connected, and I don't understand why that is. And then you'll hear the answer machine come on, and like I've done in other tests before, and now it's up to the 4 bars. So there's the answer machine that just came on. Let me get that shut off. So hang on. Alright. So anyways, it's going to go back down to poor signal since the call has been disconnected. But you can see what your signal strength is here. And then you can go and do software updates, which I'm not going to do that. So let's go back to your settings. And like I said, this is all the setting for your Wi-Fi connections. So there's all these other things you can do on your router phone box set that I have. So I can do basic, which basically I'm in basic, so I can do security, and then I can set the different passwords and what protection I want to use on the Wi-Fi. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. And I can go to network, and then you can see that mobile data is off, and the other advanced thing here is off because I personally told it to go off. By default, it would be on. So you can go to your firewall. Well, actually, before I go to firewall, this is your connections, and then the APN is where you'd want to set your service provider's APN settings, which you got to find out from them. And then I can go to Firewall and then enable that, and it's basically like a regular router, but it's just a little bit different. So then if I go to Advanced, I can put a new current login, new login name, and this thing right here, the login visibility, I cannot get it to change. And I changed the password already, and it doesn't show up as what I saved it as. So if you change the default password, and you forget, it's like, oh no, I forgot what the heck I used. Well, you'll have to do a hard reset. So you can go to router, and this is where you can change your IP address to match your network subnet, your DHCP. Mine's enabled, and I actually customized this to be different than what was on there originally. So you can do VPN pass-through, that's virtual private network, MAC IP binding. I don't care about that really. And then there's a current bind list. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. Time and date, which is basically set to automatic, and you can change those different pools, time pools, and I'm not sure if this is set by the cell internet or how this works, if it's automatic. Like mine is off, so I don't know how it sets. It might do it through the internet, I don't know. Or it might do it for the cell towers. It could be either or. Then you could do call blocking, so I can view, view the call log, and I can add callers to that block page if I want, or I can just do a customized phone blocking. So, if anything, if you didn't want to have internet on it, this would work good for just an advanced call tracking device, where you could keep track of who's calling in your phone, who's calling out of your phone, and then you've got your backup and restore. So basically those are your settings on the router. And I can go over to network. We can just take a quick peek at what's in it, if there's actually anything. It's very looks like it's a very weak firewall. We can add, let's see here. Well, I suggest if you're going to use this for a router or any kind of thing that you want to do, I would suggest connecting a existing router to it if you're going to use this for backup internet like I'm going to. So I wouldn't bother mess with this firewall. It's not really worth it. I mean, you can enable all this stuff, but it's really much harder to use this router deal than it is to use a typical like Netgear or Cisco router that you just plug that into your existing network. I mean, this thing is not worth it, really. I mean, it's great that they've got it in there. They even got the DMZ, which means that's if you had servers you want. Now, I don't know why you'd want to use a server on this router. Well, it's asking me for an IP address, which I don't have one, so I'm not going to bother to put it in. But still, this is what you're looking at, as far as your router's concerned. I wouldn't bother. using this if I were you. I just thought I'd just turn this thing on and just see what it does. So basically, I'm going to disable all that and just turn it back to where I had it, which was fine. So basically, that's all you have to do if you want to use this for your router. The only thing that stinks about this little interface thing is you cannot automatically, after so many seconds, if I'm in activity, if I'm not clicking from device like this, it just logs you right out, and you can't keep track of things like I was hoping that you would be able to do, like keep a web page open on one of your computers, and then you can monitor the signal strength, different activities that are going on. It's kind of a monitoring, administration kind of a deal, but this doesn't even allow you to set the timeout. If there is a timeout setting on this, I don't know where to go. I mean, I've went to advanced thinking that would allow me to set my timeout, but no. Anyhow, that's really all that is in this device. I'm not, like I said, you'll have to mess with trying to get it to work. But anyhow, I just wanted to give you that brief overview of the router. So that's basically it, folks. I've showed you everything and anything I possibly could, the pros and cons about this unlocked AT&T thing. If you decide to buy it, go ahead. If you decide, well, that's not for me, or you don't like AT&T, well, look for something else. Look for a box that, from what I've heard from other people, is if you have a box that has no brand name on it, basically meaning it doesn't say AT&T or Verizon or Cricket, you can use it with other services and interchange it without having to buy another box. Well, for me, with this AT&T box, if I were going to go with Verizon, to say, I'll have to get a whole new box and start all over again. Same way with anything else. But to me right now, I've been happy with the AT&T service that I've had. I don't see any reason why to change unless they go bad. I can always use another company that will use the AT&T towers, like I've said. So it's not a bad device once you know what it's able and not able to do. But you just gotta pick your battles here, what you're gonna live with. Whether, I mean, to me, I would rather have an antenna on the outside of the house. From everything else, and that actually enhances the performance of the equipment, or the reception. But I prefer to have something on the outside until I find something that I can actually swap SIM cards and don't have to fuss with buying new equipment. I'm just going to have to live with this for now. But when I find something that I think that will work for you and that will interchange from service to service, then I'll let you know what that device is that I get. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you know of somebody that can use this information, please pass it along. And thank you for those that have subscribed to my channel. There's a lot more coming. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button. I mean, it's no skin off my nose if you don't. But it just, you will lose while other people are getting up-to-date information about the technology that's out there. So have a great day, and I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology to the Limit. Bye-bye for now.